Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge Vega channel. Friends, today video will be very important because today we will talk about very important function of Excel which is pivot table. In today's video, we will see 5 important tips or tricks that will make our work much easier. So without wasting any time, let us go to the computer screen. Friends, whenever we work on a large data, we always face this problem to share the large amount of data to our colleagues, to our managers. But with the help of pivot table, we can do this very easily. If you see that I have already opened a file, let us see what is the size of the file. I'll go to file and click on info. If you see, it is like 18 MB file, and if I try to send this file over email, it will be very difficult, and sometimes we cannot even send this file. So to tackle this issue, what we will do, we will create a pivot table for this. So we have created this pivot table. Now what we are going to do, you have to drag any of the column. Again, you have to drag any of the column. Let us suppose I drag this unit column in the values. Save this file, and I'll save this file to the same location here only. Let us name this at very small data, and save. It is saving now. Now let us see the magic. If I'll go to file and click on this info option, see the size of the file is only 5 MB. So this is the file that you have to share with your client and tell them to see the entire data. Just double click on this value. I'll just double click and see. This is the entire data that they can see. So in this way, we can easily share large amount of data with the help of pivot table. I'm sure you like this one. So second one is even more interesting. So guys, if you can see that I have this data opened, we have ID, name, gender, department, designation, zone, region, and date of joining, and the marks obtained by these people. Now the ask is, we have to find out how many region do we have in zone. For example, if we see the east zone part, so in east zone we have these regions. If you see, we have these region, we have Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha. But if I'll talk about how many actual the unique region we have, so we have 1 2 3 4, we have 4 unique region in this east zone. Similarly, we have to find out the unique region in each of these zones. So if I try to find out with the help of pivot table, let us create a pivot table for this. And this is the pivot table. So here in the row part, we will drag the zone, and in the values part, we will drag the values. If you see, we have central, we have 45, in east we have 101. So this is the total count that is showing over here, but the ask is to find out the unique region. If you remember that in east we should be having like only 4 region, right? So in order to find the district count, let us suppose we click on right click and summarize value by sum. We don't want the sum, we don't want average, we don't want max min, but we want distinct count. But the distinct count is not highlighted over here. If we need to find the distinct count, we have to use the power pivot, the dad of pivot table. Let me show you how. So first of all, let us delete this pivot table. We will create a pivot table, but in some different way. How? Again, click on insert, click on pivot table, and while in this window we have to check this box, add this data to the data model, because we are going to add this data to data model. So click on OK. Now this is the again a blank pivot table. Now if I drag this zone field over here and region field over here, in the previous pivot table it was showing like 4501, but if we need to find the distinct count, click on summarize value by, and if you see, the distinct count is highlighted. Now click on distinct count and it will show you the distinct count, and it is only possible if we use the power pivot or data model option. The third example, if you see that I have already created a pivot table, and above the pivot table we have these filters. So this is a simple task, anybody can do this, right? We are not going to see how we have created this filter, but what if we do not want the filter to be used like this? Let me show you one example. We want to show the filter like this. here we click on female and we have the option to marketing. We can select the zone. If you see, the filter was placed in a single row, or we can do otherwise also. We can do the like this. So these are the filters for this particular pivot. In order to create this filter, what we have to do, let us go to the pivot one. What we will do, just right click on the pivot table options, and here if you see, there is an option of display field in report filter area. If you click on over then down, and let us use this as 2 and okay, see we have 2 rows. But if we use in other way, for example, let us use down then over. Okay, now it is showing like this. So we can use this option to change the position of our filter in the pivot table. And I'm sure if you start using these tricks, it will give an attractive look to your pivot table. Let us move to another interesting trick. So here again we have the same data, and now the ask is we want to create a pivot table based on slabs. For example, we want to create a slab like 50 to 100 marks shown in a different slab, 100 above will be shown in a different slab. So let us create a pivot table and okay. Now we'll drag the marks to the row part, and if I again drag the marks to values, it will give us the sum. But we don't want sum, we want this as count. So if you see, for 50 marks we have 15 people, and 13 people are those who have secured 51 marks. But we don't want to show this data like this. So let us create a slab, right click and group. So if I click on group, see it is saying starting position and ending position. So we will take the starting at 50 and ending at 100, and we'll give the difference it by not 10, let us give it 15 and okay. See, we have 50 to 64, 65 to 79. We can use it like this way also, and let us give it at 5. Okay, so 50 to 54, 55 to 59. So we have this slab of 5 numbers of difference, and we can also use in the date part also. Let us remove this marks option and date of joining over here and date of joining over here. So if I drag this date field into the row area, it will automatically group this. Right click and ungroup this, and again right click and group. Now we have the option to show it through year, month or days. So let us click on year and okay. So it is grouped by year on year, but let us click on month also. Now we have year and month. You can also drag this year to the column area. See, this is the look you can give like this. So you can use the pivot table like this also. So friends, the last trick is, believe me, very interesting. How? Let me show you in this way. Let us create a very simple pivot table. So I have created this pivot table, drag this zone part here. So in this pivot table, we are showing the count of the zone. In central, we have 46. In central, we have 46 numbers. Now let us increase this number. Let us do one thing. Where we have written north, we'll write it central. And in the pivot table, it is showing as 46 only. And we all know that this is because we have not refreshed the pivot table. So right click and refresh pivot table. So once we refresh, the numbers has been changed. But what if we have multiple pivot table created on a single file? Let us suppose I'll create another pivot table also. Control C and Control V, and here we will show the region. Let us create one more pivot table here, and here we will show the gender part. And similarly, we have so many pivot table in a file. So whenever the data changes, it will be very difficult to go each and every pivot table. Or sometimes what we can do, click on data and we can use the refresh all part also. What refresh all will do, refresh all will refresh all the pivot table in this file. But what if we do not want to use this refresh all option? Here what I want that whenever we changes data over here, the pivot table number should automatically get changed. For that, what we have to do, click on developer and go to Visual Basics, and in this data sheet where the data is actually placed, click on this data worksheet. You have to select the worksheet from this drop down, and from another drop down we have to select this deactivate option. I'll explain this code to you also, and here you have to write this workbook dot refresh all. That's it. So what this code will do, it whenever we move to any of the sheet in this file, all the pivot table will get automatically refreshed. Let me show you how. If you see, we have male count 683 and for female we have 102. Let us do one thing. I'll change the name over here. I'll change the name to Rahul Kumar and male. Now if I go to the pivot table, see the values has changed automatically. So what this will do, it will change the values for all the pivot tables. We have seen all the tips of the pivot table here, but as I always say that only seeing this video will not going to work for you. Just practice once. I'll share this file in the description of this video, and if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. We will be having more interesting and knowledgeable video in this channel. So let us meet in our next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy.